Hello, I'm Luke Ryan and welcome to the Masters of Cinema Marathon, number 2. It's been a while, I know, it took me a while to get to this. In fact, I'm sick now as I'm making this video, but I needed to make it and I'm making it. And today, in this video, we're talking about Mad Detective, a Hong Kong film released in 2007, directed by Johnny To and Wai Ka-fai. I don't know if that's how you pronounce their names, but I'm going to go with that, and there's going to be a lot of that throughout this video. But this was an interesting film. I first heard about it when a friend of mine, Matt Tui, he picked it up. He's a big Asian cinema fan. He gave it a watch and he didn't like it. He said, oh, and the thing that bothered him was that there was some audio issues with the film that he didn't really like. And so, yeah, I was put off by this, but I did get it a couple of years ago and I watched it and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, on the first watch, it was kind of difficult to understand a lot of what was going on. I'll admit that, and again, it would be one of those really bad things to say, but it really was just a matter of at certain points a lot of the characters looked pretty similar, and so I was like, wait, so is that the guy from before? Or, you know, and then since I've rewatched this film specifically for this review, I now feel completely stupid because it's so easy to follow in terms of who is who. And in fact, my fiance joined me in watching this film, which was really strange and impromptu, but she really enjoyed it. But yeah, so the second watch, I actually enjoyed it even more than I did the first time around, and it's just a great film. So, as always with these videos, first I'll talk about the film, then the Blu-ray, then the special features, then my final thoughts. So, let's talk about the film. I've now decided to switch over to this side because it casts less of a shadow on me. So, the film Mad Detective is about a mad detective who, I forget his name, Bun is his name. We'll just say Bun. It could be Bun or I don't know, however else you pronounce it, but we'll call him Bun. He is a detective who has an unorthodox way of dealing with cases, and right from the get-go, you know, a really kind of jaw-dropping intro to the character and to the film itself. We see Bun stabbing this pig's corpse, and he's almost crying as he's doing it, and we got all these like couple of younger detectives like looking at him like, what the hell is he doing here? And this new detective comes in, or this rookie, I suppose, comes into the police department, and Bun says, come with me. So he comes with him, and he says, right, I'm going to get inside this suitcase, zip it up around me, and push me down like these 5 sets of stairs. And this rookie doesn't even question it, rolls him down the stairs, he bursts out of the suitcase, he's in pain, he's in agony, and he's like, this guy did it, go arrest him. And throughout this we get snippets of newspaper articles saying that a girl's body was found in a suitcase and that this detective solved another case. So what he does is he gets inside the mind of the person who was murdered by whoever the murderer is, and that's how he figures out who did it and where they did it and all that kind of stuff. So there's a bit of a weird kind of how does this work? You know, it's kind of a mystery. And then we flash forward by about 4 or 5 years, in fact, where he's no longer a detective. In fact, we see why, because he cuts his ear off and presents it to an official in the police department. And we later find out why he did that. I won't explain why. And again, my thoughts on spoilers of the film will come at the end of my final thoughts. So, very weird character, you know, cuts his ear off, you know, he's getting thrown down a flight of stairs in a suitcase, he's figuring out these cases in really weird ways that you just wouldn't expect, you know, to have any science to it. You know, it just doesn't seem to hold any water in terms of a realistic, you know, it doesn't have a realistic grounding, basically. So you're like, so what is this, you know? And then we start seeing even more things. As we flash forward, we see him now, he's not really doing anything, he's an eccentric, he's going around with his wife, and there's some strange things that start happening. We see him interacting with a few different people, and the interactions seem a bit strange. And then the rookie from the beginning, who this is a few years before, I mean, again, the film opens you see him in his element as this mad detective solving these crimes, and then we flash forward quite a few years to when he's no longer a detective. And the rookie from the beginning, he comes to Bunn and he says, I'll just call him the rookie from now on, and the rookie says to him, I've been trying to solve this case. One of our police officers went missing about 1.5 years ago, and I've tried everything. I don't know what to do, so, you know, you're a legend and stuff, and in fact my gun that they gave me when I joined is your gun. I feel like I have a link to you, so can you help me with this case? And so Bunn helps the rookie with the case, and we slowly start to see more of his, what would you call it, his gift. Bunn's gift is that, and again, I don't even know if I should spoil it. In fact, I won't spoil it, I'll talk about it at the end, but he has this strange thing where he can see things that normal people don't see, and this is the hook of the film that makes it so interesting and so unique and so different. Again, my fiance, who watched this with me when I rewatched this for this video about a week ago, she said, I've never seen anything like this. It's such a cool way to tell a story, and she's right, it really is. It's a fascinating hook. As I said, it's a hook, and it's a brilliant cinematic device that you can really play around with, and Johnny To really plays around with it in this film, and it's a great kind of dense thriller. There's lots of plot, well, not lots of plot lines, but lots of layers to the plot, and lots of different things going on, and there's not so much time jumps, but kind of perception jumps. And again, I'll get into that at the end when I talk about the quote-unquote spoilers of the film. But it is a really intriguing film that never really lets up in terms of drawing you in to what's going to happen next. For me, it just keeps on just trundling along, and you know, just there's a little bit more, and then, oh, but why that, and why this, and where's that going to go, and wait a minute, didn't he? And then, you know, it all starts to piece together towards the end, and that's when you really get it's a fantastic ending to the film as well, and it really rounds up itself off in a unsatisfyingly satisfying way, I would say. It's a brilliant film. I think it's a fantastic film. When I first watched it, I rated it about an 8 out of 10. I would definitely give it a solid, strong 9 out of 10 now. After seeing it for a second time, I definitely think it probably benefits from a second watch. But yeah, I really need to talk about the spoilers towards the end of the video to really delve into why I love this film so much. But yeah, definitely I could understand my friend Makis Tatui, his issues with the audio of the film. There's definitely a few bits where the language, you know, the what you're hearing didn't seem to be matching with the lips on a few occasions. And from what I've seen of the director, I almost feel like he would say, well, that doesn't matter. You know, film is a visual. I feel like he wouldn't care, you know? And I'll get to that when I talk about the special features, but yeah, it definitely was off-putting at times, but I mean, you get that in some films, and again, when you're watching foreign films, if you're English at least, or, you know, I guess anyone in the world who doesn't speak the languages in films that they're watching with subtitles in, you're not really looking at the lips so much, you're kind of reading the subtitles and kind of listening, and so it's kind of difficult, and sometimes you miss those bits where, oh, wait a minute, it doesn't actually look like his. So I'm not sure how much of it is an issue in the film, because again, a lot of time you're reading the subtitles, but it overall didn't detract from the overall experience for me that much, because it's such a strong visual film, and I thought the performances were great as well. And just the direction is really interesting. I don't know what lenses he used in the film, but there's some really weird angles and just fantastic shots that again draw you into the hook of the film. And another thing that I forgot to mention, so I'm throwing it in now, is that I really loved the acting in the film, particularly from the lead actor, who is Ching-Wan Lau. He was fantastic as Bun. Just a really eccentric, wacky performance, but really pulls you in at the same time when it comes to the more serious moments. But the whole cast from top to bottom for me were fantastic, particularly outside of Bun's character, the character of Ko, I believe, the corrupt cop. He was fantastic. He really made me believe in how shitty of a person his character was. So top acting in the film as well. That's my thoughts on the film, a solid 9 out of 10. Now let's look at the Blu-ray. Alright, here is the Blu-ray up close and in person. Well, not really in person, but you know what I mean. So we've got the front cover here, which is a really nice poster. It has the main character Bun on the front, the mad detective with the bandage around his head, and all the kind of, you know, just the typical kind of detective imagery that you get, you know, with all the papers on the background stuff, the desk, nice lighting, and then the title of the film itself. I love how the D is an ear, and then it says a film by Johnny To and Y Ka-Fai. And obviously it says number 2, spine number 2, as we all know, in the collection. Here is the spine very briefly, and I love how there's a colour theme to all like the banner here and then the kind of spine and stuff. I love how that works and how colourful it looks on the shelf when you have a load of different editions. On the back here we have all the information about the film if you want to pause and have a look. 4 Blu-ray soundtracks, just different, you know, the Dolby Digital 2.0, 5.1 and all that kind of stuff. I'm no audiophile, so it means very little to me. Q&A with Johnny To, the Cinematheque France, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, 35 minutes. Exclusive cast interviews shot during the Far East Film Festival with Lau Ching-wan and Lam Suet in Italy, April 2008, 14 minutes. Interview with Johnny To in France in March 2008, 21 minutes. Original UK theatrical trailer, 16-page booklet, and then all the other information down here. 2007, Hong Kong, 86 minutes. And yeah, you can probably see the camera there reflected in the Blu-ray case. We don't try for the utmost professionalism with these videos. 2:35:1 original aspect ratio. Contains 1 Blu-ray and DVD, all that good stuff. Extras are in 480p. Standard definition worth noting. It is rated 18, containing strong and bloody violence, and it is ABC, which is unusual. Obviously this is one of the first massive cinema releases. They are mostly region B locked. Now we take a look at the inside. We have the DVD disc here, which is the same as the front cover. The Blu-ray disc is exactly the same, but it has a blue tint to it, and I really like that, how they try and separate the Blu-ray disc and the DVD disc and make them look different, even if it's only a subtle change. Then we have the booklet. Let's put this aside for a second. Again, the same image, but it's very good, so it's worth using it again. I'm losing my voice. Mad Detective on the back there. It's a very thin booklet, not as substantial as some of the later ones, but of course this is just the beginning of the collection, and there's a very good article here that I'll talk about in just a minute. A few images from the film, and of course notes on viewing, and all the credits at the end. Now, the inside image is quite hard to see, so I'm going to take the sleeve out for a second. Now here we go. Oh, I can see this much more vibrantly, and it's one of the best moments of the film. You get the chapter listing there, and oh, that's just fantastic. A really great image. But yeah, with the inside the Amaray case, it is a little bit faded, but it was actually quite nice to pull this out and have a look. So they really go above and beyond, you know. Just, you know, you got obviously the front cover and stuff, but just gorgeous artwork on the inside as well, along with the chapter listings, which is very handy. So there you go, there's the Blu-ray, and now on with the rest of the video. Alright, so the special features. We have a Q&A with Johnny To at a retrospective that this French festival did of his films, and they showed, I think, about 20 of his films, including Mad Detective, and this is about 35 minutes long. This is an interesting one because you really get to see, well, I was going to say hear, but you get to read, if you're English or don't speak the language, his thought process behind filmmaking. And I've written loads of notes and stuff, so that's why I'm looking down. Because again, I watched the special features weeks ago, so I needed to keep notes. He mentions how France has been a big supporter of his films for years, and I suppose that's why they're doing a retrospective, or they did do a retrospective of his films in France. And yeah, a screening of Mad Detective during a retrospective. Featuring 30 of his films, not 20, there you go. He says that the film Mad Detective cost 2.5 million Hong Kong dollars, the lowest budget he's ever had up until that point. And he figured that seeing as the market was so bad at the time, why not make a film he actually likes? They shot the film over 18 days, and he said that some days they wouldn't know what the setup was for the next day, and the actors didn't dare ask, but with limited time you would end up being more efficient, is the way that he sees it. He says that there was no budget and no script. I wonder how straight up that comment was. It can't be completely, can it? They had 2 days to shoot the shopping mall scene. He said it should have taken at least 5 days, if not 10, and they didn't have the budget to fire any guns. And so, you know, the way he's kind of selling it is as if it was this really just like, you know, guerrilla style filmmaking. But it just doesn't come across like that when you watch the film. It really comes across as a very well made film with a fair amount of money behind it. He's asked about the role of women in his films and how they're always the start of trouble in his films. He says he's embarrassed to say this, but he is a chauvinist, and male characters are just more important. The interviewer reminds him of a film he made, A Hero Never Dies, from 1997, where women were absolutely essential to the story. He concedes that women are slightly more important in that film, but it's still a man's film. He just seems fairly lackadaisical about filmmaking. He doesn't write scripts. He practically fell into filmmaking. He doesn't know why. It just seemed like fun. And then at the end of the Q&A, he takes pictures and signs DVDs after the Q&A with everyone. I got conflicted feelings on this. I enjoyed what he said about coming up with the idea that the main hook of the film, which I'll talk about at the end. I enjoyed what he had to say about that concept. And it kind of, I'll try and come back to this at the end because he says something quite interesting in the Q&A. But yeah, overall, I didn't like his comments about women, but I guess you got to look at it from a cultural point of view. Maybe that is just, well, it must be the way that women are viewed in Hong Kong and in Asia in general, I suppose. Again, I'm not very knowledgeable on that, so I shouldn't really speak to it, but it seems to me like that's probably more of an accepted thing over there, to kind of say, well, you know, women aren't really that important. It just rubbed me the wrong way, but I didn't know how to feel about it, basically. And another thing I want to mention is that, you know, this is a film by Johnny To and Wai Ka-fai. It says on the front, you know, that it's directed by these two people, but Wai Ka-fai is not mentioned really or featured in any of the special features. I'm really not sure what his... I mean, it could be a woman for all I know. I don't know what their involvement is in the film, whether this is someone who was there on set directing with him every step of the way or what. It's never really cleared up. It's mentioned briefly in the booklet, but it still didn't clear up to me, you know, what the collaboration was like in this film in particular. Then we have cast interviews at the 10th Far East Film Festival in Italy 2008 with Ching Wan Lao and Suet Lam, two of the actors in the film, and Ching Wan Lao plays Bun in the film, the main character, which is great to see an interview with him. It's an interesting interview, it's quite entertaining too. Ching Wan Lao seems a little uncomfortable or maybe tired. At the end of the interview they ask him if he specially prepares for his roles, which they kind of already asked him previously in the interview, and he just kind of goes, no. And that's the end of the interview. It's kind of, it seems to be an indication that he's done with the interview, basically. But it's still a good watch and interesting to hear his thoughts on acting in general. And Suet Lam is very quiet and doesn't speak much, and he seems to be very much just a guy who, you know, yeah, that's my job, I act. You know, he didn't really seem to have much to add to the interview side of it, but it was fun to see him there because he plays quite an entertaining part in the film. And then we have an interview with Johnny To, another interview with, well, it's not another, it's an interview, not a Q&A. He talks about how he writes the script as he films. One time he shot a scene, didn't know how to continue, so he shut down the production, returned to it 6 months later, then ran out of ideas again. It seems like a very bizarre, haphazard way to make films, and he just seems very, you know, he says he doesn't have the discipline to make a film with a completed script. And again, I just kind of, I feel like calling bullshit, because it just seems to me that this film, Mad Detective, is such a brilliant film, and I just can't accept the fact that it was thrown together without a full script, or without, you know, well, you know, we don't know what we're doing tomorrow, but we'll see what happens. We got like 2 weeks to film it, you know. I just don't know if I buy into it. I don't know whether that really is the case, and Johnny To is a mad filmmaker and has this gift that, you know, no one else has, or whether you know, he's trying to come across as, you know, as cool and I don't put too much effort in and all. It just comes to me. You know, I don't know what the deal is, but something just doesn't seem to ring completely true for me when I hear about him talk about his process of filmmaking. He talks about the Edison Chen photo scandal, which I believe was some in Hong Kong. You know, photos of women were leaked and that kind of stuff. You know, scandalous thing. And he has a smirk on his face when he's talking about it, and he mentions how the women who were exposed in it were pioneers in giving Hong Kong people something to think about, but they have been sacrificed, and then he grins. It just seemed like a really sleazy comment to make, and so I'm very conflicted about Johnny To, I really am. I don't know what to think of the guy, but the film's great, it really is. And then we have the original UK theatrical trailer, which is always interesting to see. Obviously it's not the Hong Kong trailer, it's the UK trailer, but it's still, I love having trailers on Blu-rays. I think it's a fantastic addition. I feel like there should be more of it. I feel like it's being phased out now, and I don't know why, but I'm glad that we get them included on these. So the Q&A is 35 minutes, the interview with Suet Lam and Ching Wan Lao is 14 minutes, and the interview with Johnny To is 21 minutes long, and the trailer's a couple of minutes. And then we have the booklet, which contains a new essay by David Bordell, who is a professor of film studies in the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And it's a pretty good little read. That's all there is in the booklet. Obviously you get some images of the film as I've shown you. But yeah, it's an interesting kind of summary of the film, and it's called Doubling Down. That's the title of the essay, and it was a really interesting read. I really enjoyed it, and it kind of, you know, looks at the film and the themes of the film, and also the production and the history of the production company. I think it's called Milky Way Image, something like that. Yeah, Milky Way Image, the production company that Johnny To and Y Cafe set up together and make films. That's their banner, and so it talks a little bit about that production company too. So yeah, special features on this are fantastic. I think there's a decent amount there. There's like a good hour's worth of, you know, interview material with the director and some of the cast, and so I think that's really good and useful stuff to include on a Blu-ray of a film. It was very interesting to delve into even if I had mixed feelings about it, the thought process behind the direction of Mad Detective and the two actors as well. So yeah, now on to the final thoughts. So my final thoughts, obviously if you have watched this and you haven't seen the film and you're interested in checking it out, I highly recommend you do it. I still think this is going fairly cheap. Pick it up, watch it, come back, let me know what you think. Otherwise, you know, let's talk about some spoilers, and if you're not going to stick around for those, thank you for watching the video. Spoiler time. And I've read some stuff on IMDb where apparently the translation of this Blu-ray in particular is not quite as, I don't know, because some people say that when they first saw the film there was no mention of spoilers, inner personalities, which is what is the hook of the film. Bun, the Mad Detective, when he sees someone, he sees their inner personalities. So he'll either see a completely different person who more represents their inner, you know, personality, or he'll see two people. You know, the two sides of someone's personality, you know, literally visualized by two human beings standing next to each other. And it's kind of hinted at the very beginning when he sees this young girl in a shop, and there's a girl next to her saying, "Go on, steal it, go on, steal it, you can save the money." And he throws like a bag of crisps or something at the girl who's encouraging her to steal. And when we cut to the thing being thrown, that girl isn't there. You might not catch it, my fiance didn't catch it. And so he sees these things that aren't really there. And what I loved about the film is it never attempts to tie a neat knot around the whole thing. It never attempts to say, right, you know, was he really seeing this stuff? Was he really mad? Was it really this supernatural phenomena? Or nothing. You don't get any explanation about it. There's no exposition where, you know, we have a doctor come in and say, and I think the guy David Bordell said that in his essay. You know, there's no doctor who comes in and explains it all halfway through the film. And I love that. I love the ambiguity of that. But it's so interesting because the lead character, the lead antagonist, the guy who is behind the disappearance of this cop who they're trying to figure out where the guy's gone, he is a psychopath. And so when Bun crosses paths with him, he sees 7 inner personalities. And it's a fantastic scene where you know, the bad guy, he's walking down the street, he's whistling. And we got Bun and the rookie driving in a car down the street, and they're looking at him. And we see the perspectives change. We see Bun looking, and he sees 7 people walking down the street whistling. And then we see the rookie's perspective, and he just sees one guy. And so that's when you know that it's Bun is seeing these things, and it's all from his perspective inside his head. But again, it's left up to you to imagine, you know, is it real or not? And then there's the whole thing with his wife, which is so brilliant. Like, for the first half of the film, you think that she is dead because he imagines her with him. He lives with her. He has conjured her up in his head. You imagine that she's passed away. And then halfway through the film, she comes up again. And it's so brilliant because it's like, holy shit. And then when he finally sees her again, he doesn't see his wife because he's separated himself. So it's just it's a beautiful piece of storytelling that is just so layered, you know, again, as I said earlier. And then when you see, he finally sees the inner personality of the rookie, just a small, scared boy. It's brilliant, it really is. But yeah, I read on IMDb people saying that this whole inner personality thing is never mentioned when they first saw the film. And it was kind of a, oh, maybe they're ghosts or something, or it isn't really explicitly said that they're inner personalities. But I don't know about that. I mean, it says on the back of the Blu-ray, yeah. Bun has the ability to see people's inner personalities or hidden ghosts. So I mean, it gives it away on the back of the thing. So I don't know why I'm saving this to the end with the spoilers and stuff, but I don't know. Maybe I should mention it and go back and refilm a little bit. But it's what makes the film brilliant, is the whole inner personalities thing. It's such a, again, an original take. Maybe it's been done before, I don't know. But I've never seen a story told like this, and I loved all the ways that Johnny To played with this concept of the inner personalities. It was just fantastically done. I don't think fantastically is a word, but it should be, and it should apply to this film. Just a really big fan of it. And final thoughts: the whole package, from the Blu-ray to special features and the film itself, just fantastic. And I would rate the whole thing a solid 4 out of 5, a strong 4 out of 5 for the whole thing. You know, again, the transfer isn't amazing. The special features aren't like fantastic, but the film really speaks for itself. And so yeah, 4 out of 5 for this Blu-ray overall. And I mean, again, the final scene is amazing. You have this showdown with these 4 characters in this room with all this glass that has been shattered, and you see all the different personalities reflected. I mean, it's just, it is so well done. And then you get this panning shot up, and you see all the personalities and all the mirror shards and stuff. It's just, it's phenomenal. It really is. You need to see this film. I'm assuming you have if you've watched this far into the spoilers. But yeah, anything else I can really mention about it before I sign off? I can't think of anything. But yeah, it's just a great film. It really is, and definitely improved. Not improved, but I enjoyed it more on second viewing. So the viewing experience was improved, I suppose you could say. But yeah, I would like to see more films from Johnny To, but I don't know. Yeah, I still got mixed feelings on the director from what I've seen in the interviews and the special features, but it is what it is, right? Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I've said all I wanted to say. And there's some funny moments to it too, as well. There's some really funny. There's some really comedic bits in there that I think are really fun. You know, there's a bit of darkness to it, but there is a lot of fun to it as well. And the ending, you know, I love the ending because it's like, you know, it's just so frustrating, but at the same time it's like, well, you know, that's what happened, you know, and how's it going to pan out? You don't know what's going to happen after that last shot, you know, where the rookie is like placing the guns in different places, and ultimately at the end of it he's become, you know, just as bad as them for you know, for setting it all up and stuff. And yeah, just it's a labyrinth of moral ambiguity when it comes to the end of the film. Definitely, there's so many things you can take away from it and think, you know, what should he have done, you know, after the fact, and just lots of stuff to take away from this film, and definitely one I'll be revisiting time after time over the years. Next up, number 3 will be another Asian film. We're now going to the first Japanese film in the collection, Tokyo Sonata, a film by Kiyoshi Kurosawa, not to be confused as a relative of the great Akira Kurosawa, but nonetheless, I'm very interested to see this one because I haven't seen it before. So this will be the proper first time watch in this massive cinema marathon. And again, you probably got a good month at least probably before I get to this. If you want to pick this up, find a way to watch it, and then come back and comment when I post the review for this one. And yeah, and again, as I say, try and treat this as kind of a movie club if you want, and let me know what you thought of this film, if you've seen it, if you've owned it, if you feel like going out and checking it out, come back and leave a comment, let's get some discussion going, and that is about it. Thank you for watching.